Welcome to the LXC.
Oh God,
Hey,
not me.
welcome to the hey, welcome to the TopHat Lounge, episode 9. As you can tell, we're all kinds of fun today. Um, oh yeah, it is 10. It is 10. Did I say 9 again?
I'm 6.
You don't have to. I'm allowed to make mistakes. Yeah. Anyway, welcome to episode 10. Hopefully, we don't remove any of that. It's too funny. Anyway, so we are pretty much all in playoffs. Sentinel is going to start their playoffs next week, so we're just going to hop on into Arbiter. There's not a whole lot to cover because we have a lot of reschedules. We had a Riot client crash, which kicked all of our players, and they were unable to finish their games. And we have a rescheduled match between TD Harmony and TD Royal tonight at 8 p.m. So we don't have any info on that either. What we do have is we have the info of the tactical feed TD Harmony playoffs, quarterfinals, whatever match that was played on September 10th at 8 p.m. So taking a look at that, what do you guys think? It was a 3-0 match, TD Harmony stomp.
Yeah, I think it just was a diff across the entire map.
Yeah, it was a bit of a blasting. I knew that I had a feeling Harmony would win. I had picked them to win, but I did not foresee a 3-0 in this fashion.
Right.
But here we are.
Here we are.
All three games were sub 30 minutes. One of them, game 2 was 23 minutes, and the other two were 26. So it was not close whatsoever.
Now they were very, very fast from what I'm seeing. Do you see any fun champion picks or anything like that? Because I'm non-technical.
I think Arbiter teams don't do enough time scouting their opponents. I think giving Kitticus, Ziggs, MF, and Ash is just illegal against this team.
I do notice, I do have to agree with you. I do notice that usually the Arbiter teams come in about 2 hours before game time to scout. Because that's when I start getting the messages about, hey, so-and-so. Because they haven't looked at them before.
Yeah, it needs to be happening throughout the week.
I will say Toxin kind of played out of his mind in this series as well. First entire 2 games going deathless with the 306 Amumu, then the 0013 Sejuani.
Yeah, Toxin needs to be banned from the
So
server.
So do we
As a joke.
consider Toxin as a Korean import? Like, what's going on here?
No, he needs to be banned. He's playing too good. That's what it is.
He's too well. He's
Yeah.
too awesome.
He has 2 perfect games. Gotta get banned. I would know firsthand experience.
So yeah, it's just a Korean import buff, I guess. The Korean import diff.
Okay. So yeah, I mean that's pretty much what we got for Arbiter. Like I said, we have a reschedule playing tonight, and we have a reschedule that I'm still waiting on dates from. To note before we move on, just a reminder: Samira is still broken. She's not allowed to be in any of the games in the LXC. She does have a passive spectator bug where she will kick the spectators, and if who is it? Silas or I don't look at my DMs. So
Diego.
Diego, correct. All players will crash if she's in their game. So it's Silas ult on Samira crashes all players, and Viego possession of Samira crashes all players. So, and I'm told for that Toxin from Korea, he is playing on a 200 ping. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
It was just like a week or two ago. The Madman played Lee Sin on 200 ping.
Yeah, it's crazy. I believe that's all we have right now for Arbiter, so we can move on over to Sentinel with TD Riven.
All right. So, quick recap of Sentinel. We had 2 games that happened. We had Eneli versus NLR.
NLR.
Which that was a 2-0. And then we had my team, TD Blessed versus Conduit. And TD Blessed pulled it out 2-1. It was also our stream game. I believe that Dropping Point had FF'd to RAR. So nothing to really talk about on that front. However, this last week of Sentinel games didn't really impact the standings whatsoever, so we head into playoffs relatively where we were in the previous week. In regards to the games themselves, yeah, I mean, NLE versus NLR, it wasn't close. I mean, NLR at this point is playing with a completely different roster. A bunch of players dropped out, so wasn't really. They're just kind of in it for the fun of it, I assume. But is there any game that caught your eye? Podcasters, I don't know. Taka, did you see anything that?
I was
impressed
streaming
you?
your game.
That is correct. You were.
Yeah, it's illegal how they didn't buy heel cut game one like at all.
I do believe itemization is an issue for the people of my elo. We also had a little bit of Garen abuse happening this week. I played Garen game 1, and then I think Final Captain played it game 2 against me, and then both of us took turns absolutely annihilating the other team on the champion. Thoughts on Garen?
Broken.
Absolutely
The
broken.
League of Stat Checks.
The League of Stat Checks. I think if you go back and watch, it is just absolutely hilarious. You just like watch the Garen just run into 5 people and just annihilate them. It is so funny.
Oh, look at me. I can press Q and then E.
And then
Well-
I run away for.
I don't know. Like the one play that like sticks out in my mind was it was game 1, and then I end up TPing on like a dragon ward, but and Conduit's in the mid lane. I just literally just run in 1v5 with I just go onward, and then I literally just run and delete their backline. And I think that was like the funniest thing. The way I was laughing in voice comms was I was laughing hysterically. It was probably one of the funniest things I've experienced in a while.
You were pulling up Whippo, huh?
Yeah, basically. They're just inting, no? But no, fun games overall. I mean, the mid lane meta at this point has been kind of all over the place. We've gone from the ADC meta to now Nasus and Garen just completely taking over. So it's been very weird for me.
I think it's nice that Nasus got a little knock to his mid lane presence with the nerf to his E. Yeah, I think that's going to be enough to keep him out of mid lane going forward.
I would hope. I really do. But if there's nothing else to really mention about these last week's games, we will now jump into playoff talk for Sentinel.
Yeah, and playoff talk.
Very, very exciting. This next week we're going to be having Braum Lives Matter versus Conduit Prime. And then we'll have TD Bless versus RAR Sentinel. So, my personal predictions of how this will go, and then we'll talk to everyone about their own predictions for this week. My predictions are Braum Lives Matter beat Conduit in a 3. Oh, is best of 3, so they'll beat them in a 2-0. And then I have TD Bless beating RAR in a 2-1.
I think that's going to be a good series.
Wow, you really think Conduit's going to go down that easy?
I do.
Why?
Yeah, I kind of think the same thing, to be honest. Having watched a couple of BLM's games, I think they're actually a pretty good team, and I think Conduit struggles sometimes with macro decisions from what I saw. I just overall think Braum Lives Matter is a better team. I don't think that series is going to be close.
Well, what about you, Genetics? You're the conduit guy here.
I'm the conduit guy. Yeah. So Prime is a promotion team, right? They've recently moved up. I think they've done well this season. I know they lost the regular season match to Brom Lives Matter. I believe it was a 2-0 in week 6. I'm trying to verify that. But I think
Yeah, it was week 6. Yeah.
yeah. And so what happened in that series, I would assume is probably going to continue, right? Unless we cleaned it up a little bit with some of our drafting in the way we pick and buy our items. But that's just that's growth. It's growth. So I also think Brom Lives is probably going to beat Prime. But I think Prime is going to put up a fight.
Okay. So would you say 2-1, or are you
I think
close to 2-0?
well, is it a best of 5 or
3.
best of 3?
It's
It's
a
only
best
best
of
of 3.
3.
So yeah, I would say Prime will take a game. I think
Okay.
that is definitely in the cards. I mean, the game times went pretty long, and well, I guess game 2 wasn't, but the first game went long. So as long as we can save mental and play through it, I think it will be a 2-1 series.
Yeah, I have a fresh opinion of them because I literally played against them this past week. It just felt like macro struggles, especially in game 3. I mean, granted, if you look at the draft, it really didn't favor them. They did go for like a late game scaling smolder comp, like protect the president smolder comp, and they ended up giving every single objective to my team because they couldn't group around. So it was a little bit of a struggle for them. They ended up taking game 2 from us in a stomp, but I think that was more so just Garen getting out of control and Garen doing Garen things. And then game 1 was kind of just Garen again. So I don't know. It's weird. I think Garen as a champion right now is really skewing some of these games, but I think like if game 3 is anything to go by, and again game 1 in a way as well, I think and having played against Brom Lives and my team, like I've experienced getting stomped by Brom Lives, so I just think Brom Lives is a better team right now.
Yeah, and that's I mean it shows in standings, right? They're the 3rd place for a reason. They were definitely fighting for those top 2 seeds, all split. So it's definitely.
I realized just now that there was a little bit of a change in the standings because NLE ended up usurping Brom Lives for that bye. Because I think Brom Lives was the 2nd seed, and then I think with NLE's victory, they actually took it from them. So that's my mistake. But yeah, I guess that's kind of Brom Lives versus Conduit. How are we feeling about TD Bless versus Roar? I think this is more of a closer one.
I think this is. It should be a good series. I want to say with Roar's last week roster change and that they're getting some games of it together. I think they're gonna look even better than they did the first week, which is their first iteration of this roster. They got put against Brom Lives Matter, and so it's not like they just got put into like a last place team to try it and they did well. Like they played one of the top 2 teams in this division and walked them.
Yeah.
So I got to root for the boys. I think it's going to be at least a RAR 2-1, if not 2-0. But I think it should be exciting to watch.
Yeah, I have this one going close. Of course, I'm on the opposing team, so of course I have to root for myself. But I think it'll be close.
Yes, that makes me the tiebreaker. I will say that TD Blessed has been like just looking week to week, been very inconsistent in terms of like what team we're gonna get on a weekly basis. If the same team that shows up, against Conduit, TD Blessed, if TD Blessed plays like they did against Conduit, the series will be a lot closer. That being said, I haven't actually gotten to watch Roar's matches, but they did just beat Brom Lives Matter, who, we've kind of sung the praises of throughout this opening section. So I would also probably give it to Roar, not having full context, just because they have the hot hand.
Okay.
All right.
Sounds good. What else you got
Cool.
for us, Riven?
I was just gonna say, if there was a dark horse team for this Sentinel playoff, who would it be? Myself, if there was a dark horse, I mean, granted, I'd have to like say Bromlines, but like there's only 6 teams in this playoff. But I mean, it's either like between Raw or like Bromlies. I mean, I think for like Blessed, I think we'll do well. Actually,
You can just say you're scared of Angie. I get it.
yeah, Angie's scary. Angie's
Yeah.
scary.
I think the
Brom-
bottom half of this playoff map is going to be interesting.
Yeah, I think the top half is just gonna be the Angie show, and the bottom half is where all the fun's gonna be.
Yeah.
I like it. Spicy.
And no, I mean, unless I'm wrong, Angie drops a goose egg. Who knows? But I think the bottom half of the bracket for like predictions and spicy matchups is gonna be more entertaining. Because I kind of just think Angie runs away with the top side. Bromlives did take a game off of Angie in the regular season. Granted, it was early on. I think it was like week 2 or week 3. But Bromlives did take a game off of them. Granted, this Angie team has kind of just gotten better and better as the weeks gone by. So they are just kind of scary. But if there was a team that could maybe upset it, I guess it would be Bromlives. But yeah, I kind of just have a feeling Angie's going to go all the way.
Yeah, I would agree. Angie's probably obviously the team to beat. I mean, you look at their roster alone, you've got 3 out of 4, almost 4 out of 5 players that are all on like their rank cap. So if there's ever a strength for a Sentinel roster, you can build it. It's this. But I got to root for my boys down in RAR. They've been making big improvements. TD, sorry for your first round exit. I don't know what to tell you on that one, but
Okay.
But
I mean, hey, it'll be fun sending your boys home too.
Ooh.
Please stop listening to them talk in chat. But the only team.
I know Jonicus has been saying a lot of shit. I don't know, dude. He's been
do be a Division 1 yapper. I'll give him that.
He's been yapping everywhere I see. He's been yapping. So I don't know. Karma would be out to get him. Who knows?
True. The only roster from this division I'm not super comfortable with is NLE. So I don't know if this is going to be like the possible dark horse. Just 'cause I don't know them. That they might just run away with it. But
I think I don't know. Right now, like how I'd power rank would kind of just be like it'd be like Angie, then I'd say like Angie, Bromlives, NLE, but Bromlives and NLE are like very, very close. NLE did beat Bromlives in the regular season game, but I would put Bromlives a little bit ahead of Valkyries. Just from playing against them. And seeing how seeing the gameplay, but they're very close.
Yeah.
So yeah, the NLE is a strong team. They're the second seed. They've done very well, and they've beaten very good teams. So I don't think they took a game off of Angie. I do think Angie just kind of rolled them. But the Bromlives game was a back and forth, close one. So. Yeah, I don't know. I played against them recently, and they beat us pretty handedly. So, yeah, I'd say they're still the favorite on the bottom side of the bracket. It would just really it would just have to depend on the form, right? Or how teams show up.
How the mentals are for the match.
Correct.
Well, cool, bears.
I think that has been our Sentinel playoff recap, kind of, or highlight.
Recap.
Recap, yeah.
Yeah.
Recap is a good way of putting it.
All right, so I guess if anybody has anything else to say about Sentinel, say it now or forever hold your peace. No, I'm just kidding. and then we can move on to Crusader. Hearing nothing. All right, Crusader.
Hello, hello.
Storm.
Hello, wonderful Crusader League. We're here. We had our wonderful play-in games this week with Expired Bandits and the Caged Monkeys, as well as Galaxy Gaming and Conduit Glory. I don't know how everyone else's predictions went. I'm 1 for 2 though. Casually crying inside a little bit because Robust griefed me.
Mhm.
But looking at these games, you've got Galaxy getting 2-0'd. This kind of went about the way I had assumed it was going to go, of their drafts just wrong. CZ is another really good top laner in this division, and don't get me wrong, I think personally, maybe some top bias here, that Nate was probably the mechanically best player on that roster, and throwing him on blind pick tanks is just not the way you're going to beat that team. But CZ on both sides of this matchup, first he got the carry into it tank counter pick that he wanted, and then they flipped it, and CZ got the tank into Nate's counter pick, and he still came out ahead. From what I understand, their game 2 ended up being some really weird Baron base rush, and they just lost off it. So, it was sorry for their season to end that way, but I don't know. That's on y'all.
So I firsthand experience. I do the scouting and am the AD carry for the team. When you look at these teams both on paper, their top laner had like 28% damage share for that team, and we knew if we gave CZ favorable matchups, that it was going to probably be a really easy series for us. Just because, you know, again, they're kind of slow in terms of like game time averages. They don't really play League of Legends. They kind of just run around, from what I could like tell based on their numbers. And so our whole like game plan revolved around making sure CZ had a favorable matchup. And then they did, like really criminal drafts with like picking Zach early. To like try to flex it, and it was just really off for, you know, a player who played like Gnar, Olaf, Urgot to like pivot to this like weird Zach pick. It was just like kind of mind blowing. I like didn't understand. But yeah, yeah, the games were what they were, and you're right. I mean, game 2, they just got ahead off kills, but they never really did anything in terms of playing League of Legends and not team deathmatch. So we just ended like our mid laner and our top laner just TP'd in their base and won the game. Like, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Really?
Yeah, and that's kind of what we talked about last week, is this series, if mentals got behind, that it was just going to kind of be the end of it. So, sadly, from what I understand, there's going to be some roster shuffling over at Galaxy. I don't know how many, if any, players will be returning. I believe their jungler may be the person they're going to try to rebuild their next roster for. But, yeah, well,
It'll
good
be
season
worth
to them.
seeing.
And
For sure.
hopefully all those players can find a different roster where they can better use their talents for what they need to use them for.
Synergize on a higher level.
So, before I get names wrong, Genetics, how do you
Mhm.
feel about your upcoming matchup?
Well, Contingent Yellow. We played them week 3 after a bunch of terrible role swaps and stuff in the first 2 weeks of us basically trolling. Like, I mean, you look at like the screenshots now versus then, they're like, I'm playing top. I'm like, we're doing a bunch of weird things. Okay, those first 2 weeks are a bunch of weird things. Week 3 was the first week we had what kind of was similar to our first roster. We played with 2 subs and we 2-0'd Yellow. So I don't know if that is I think they are upset that the only team they've lost to this split, they now have to go into a playoff match against, right? Because they won all their other series, from what I remember.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think they're probably feeling a little hard done. And in my opinion, all the pressure's on them, right? We're just a lowly 5th seed, just breaking people's brackets at this point, and that's all we're meant to do.
Hell yeah.
I'd
Then
ask you, Cherrie, how you felt about that, but if I recall correctly, you don't keep up with yellow. She didn't unmute. Okay. Had to try.
say it.
Hello, sorry, I zoned out. What happened?
I said I would ask you what you thought about what Genetics just said about contingent yellow, but if I
Follow-up
recall
question.
correctly, you don't really follow.
What did he say about contingent esports
But they
yellow?
fucking suck.
He
What-
did
I-
not.
I-
Don't do that.
He absolutely said,
in a roundabout way, I said basically that we were the only team to take the series from them in regular season, and I think they're feeling hard done that they have to now play us in first round of playoffs, and that all the pressure's on them
I mean,
because they're the first seed.
we got 2-0'd by Akuma in regular season, and then we skull fucked them. So I don't think they're worried.
I don't
Ooh.
know who that is,
Yikes.
but that's good.
That's,
Hey, look,
that's up in
sounds good.
Warden.
Ah, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me see this playoff bracket for Crusader. Let me see what's going on here. We got Contingent Yellow versus Conduit Glory, famous play on CZ. Yeah, no, they'll be fine. They'll be chilling.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good.
Someone
Hell yeah.
save my boy CZ is what I will say.
Yeah, CZ's been running tops right now. So I mean, if
CZ
you
's my
look,
goat. I love that guy. That
you
guy
look at average gold per minute and average damage per minute, we have 3 of the top 4 players, and that is our bot, our mid, and our top laner. So we are. Listen, I feel you, but for a team who's
Yeah.
the first seed, you ain't got no one in this list.
And if we look at the standings, you guys do have 7 losses. So
That's true. True.
so that is also something that people
Just
can look at.
not 2 to yellow. Just not 2 to yellow, right? 2 of those aren't to yellow.
Come on.
Okay.
2 of them aren't. I mean,
Brother is praying on the
7.
rock, paper, scissors.
I mean 7, yeah, but 2 of them aren't the yellow, the top seed, right?
Goodness.
Once they
I love
3-0 you, it'll be a 3-2 overall series. You don't gotta
We'll
worry
see.
about none of that.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean,
I
look, if they played like they did against our subs, bro, it's gonna be early night. It's gonna
listen,
be an early night. for the content.
there's all these hard feelings over a playoffs match that isn't going to matter in the long run because none of you are beating Blood Moon.
Is that
Man, Blood Moon. Man. We'll talk
I have
about Blood
to-
Moon.
Mr. Beards and Cats has legally mandated me to fight for our org in podcast chat, so I don't.
I love it. I love it. Bring it
my
on.
hands are- What is?
I mean, I don't have to go
Oh.
through anyone because I'm the owner of Conduit, so I don't have that like level of
He's like,
you know,
"I'm
chain of
free to
command
say
that you
whatever."
have. I can say whatever I want. Okay, so you talk to your boss and get back to me, and then we'll talk
Yeah.
about another series.
It's
Okay.
okay. Maybe this split your org will get a chip.
Maybe. Maybe. Hey, could be.
I love
Could
this
be.
place.
Yeah.
Could be.
Okay. Then to our other series that's been played. Cage Monkeys
Other
and
news.
Expired Bandits. Oh boy, what happened? Someone decided to Slayer just is actually getting handshook Syndra into Smolder. I don't know who thought that was illegal, but I think they got shown very quickly why it wasn't. So this series ends up being a 2-1 towards the sides of Cage Monkeys. I want to say from what I've seen a bit from the stream, game 1 was pretty lopsided. Expired Bandits started to hold up in the mid game, slow Cage Monkeys roll, but Vendetta eventually came online, was actually able to team fight, and at that point the Smolder scaling just is not keeping up with Syndra one tapping you on repeat, as Zeri's just actually out team fighting. Game 2, they hit him with the infamous Jace first pick. Robust will be the only person I will not put on a cross for picking Jace. He's actually good at it. Props to him. And the second game, seemed much more in their wheelhouse. You've got Mednev on an engaged tank, being able to dictate fights, Yarlet in a winning matchup topside, and Robust is on a lane dominant champion that he can actually take his lead and move it. I think this is exactly what this team should look for and what they should be trying to force Cage Monkeys into. And then game 3, they tried it again, and Vendetta just decided to say he was tired of playing the series and just rolled them topside, actually.
Yeah, and I think casters were talking about the top lane matchup between Vendetta and Yarlet, and that Olaf into Darius matchup, and it is how like snowbally it gets for one side, whichever side like gets the
Yeah.
early lead. It's just so like turbo cursed for the other one.
Yeah, it becomes almost impossible to play.
Yeah, it like becomes so insanely hard to do anything, and that's just basically what happened. It was just top got so unbelievably far ahead that he was able to just 2v1 at a point, I think, during that game, and yeah, it was Jover.
But for that will lead us into our other quarterfinal with CG, Blood Moon, and Cage Monkeys.
Mm.
I would go around and ask everyone what they think's going to happen in that series, but y'all actually just ride Blood Moon. So I'm going to take a guess that that's our resounding opinion on that.
Yeah, I think that it's pretty obvious the Blood Moon is where they are, because they haven't lost a series. They've dropped 2 games, and I don't see Caged Monkeys taking it, or taking a game off of them. I do think it's actually going to be a 3-0. I think the only thing that is possible for TCG is that they're just like insanely scrappy, and if they do manage to find any lead, they can have a chance at winning a game. But I think it's just Blood Moons look too clean in this league.
Yeah. If this would have been a bit stronger of a showing from Cage Monkeys in this Expired Bandit series, I would have maybe like to see them maybe take a game or 2 off Blood Moon in this. But I mean, don't get me wrong, Expired Bandits is not a bad team by any means. But Expired Bandits to Blood Moon is not the same animal. Their mid laner is very aware that he just needs to play a safe scaler, and eventually his side laners are just going to kind of run the game. And that just going off these games, Slayer's getting leads in most of their wins, but I don't know how they pilot past 25 minutes without him having a pretty dominant lead. And that's my worry, is I don't think Slayer's going to get a big enough lead to outweigh the lead that Jace and Resilient will end up within this series.
Yeah, I think having played against the bot lane of Monkeys, I don't think there's a world. It's literally the sides versus the mid, right? Like Slayer's definitely the shining point for Monkeys, whereas it's not even comparable. Like the sides are just so in such a bad state, in my opinion, versus Clowns. I think it's going to be insanely hard for them to win strictly through mid, especially if Blood Moon knows that that's their one real win con.
Yeah.
What?
Any
You're talking
opinions
about-
on the matchup, Taco and Riven?
I'll let
We
Riven
are
go
on
first.
Blood Moon and Cage Monkeys matchup.
I guess Riven's not talking. I got a couple things. I just like how they auto-filled Riley into the jungle, and he's still dog stomped against Expired Bandits. And then going into Blood Moon, if they can keep a rhythm, and especially in a best of 5, I think they could be the dark horse if they keep playing like they have been in the last couple weeks.
I'll have whatever he's having.
Yeah, for real.
That's why they're called the dark horse.
Go and check that man's coffee cup because it is laced.
That horse is on its last heartbeat, friend.
I've been on my last heartbeat. I'm a League of Legends player.
Oh goodness.
That Jin solo queue game actually broke this man's mental.
Yeah. Holy shit! You can't go 15, 5, and 7 and still lose because your Azir wants to go shuffle the 15 and 2 Zinzal on you.
Well, you absolutely can because we watched it happen.
I know.
Yeah, we've seen that
I
one.
didn't
We saw
think
that episode.
I didn't think people were that bright.
Hmm.
But
So
that's all I
then-
have.
Riven, opinions, thoughts, concerns.
I don't know. My opinion is Blood Moon just wins the whole thing. I'm joking.
Damn.
Do I don't
You
know.
go balls to the wall. It's a podcast, man. Come on.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah, I'm about to have to
Balls
listen to 15 minutes of Cherrie saying face fucking over and over. So
Well, that's fair.
I can't
That is
wait.
fair.
She
is
is gonna
fair.
face fuck.
I was pretty sure it was
So-
skull fuck, but
Yeah, I was about to
Skull
say we
fuck,
gotta
yeah.
make sure
we have
use the
to
nomenclature
clarify. We have to
properly.
clarify things here.
I'm,
I don't-
I'm
I don't
avoiding
really know.
copyright laws. I'm avoiding copyright laws. Leave me alone.
In terms of like Crusader, there's like the Blood Moon team that everyone like glazes. I mean, I don't think they're bad,
Alright.
but there's Blood Moon, and then there's the Summoners After Dark match. I think those guys are good, and then Contingent is also good. And I mean, I like the Syndicate people. I think they just don't have a roster, and that happens to the best of us and Syndicate strokers. But I think it's kind of at this point a 3-horse race.
Mhm.
I have been asked by the people to inform that Contingent Esports Yellow, when playing against Conduit Glory, quote, "We're on hotel Wi-Fi with a crappy laptop." Now I cannot verify this claim, but this is
Mhm.
simply the message that I have been asked to provide to the
No, that's
press.
fine.
God,
That's
Yeah.
so it's
I
just
mean,
Wi-Fi bit.
again, we had 2 subs, so I mean, we can make excuses. We can always make excuses.
Wait, weren't you one of the people that was subbed out?
Yeah, I actually subbed myself out. I was sick, but I appreciate it. Appreciate
Yeah,
the word.
I'm glad you kept your health. I'm just saying, like, once it's
Look,
0-2,
I didn't need to
I'm
use any
just-
more energy at that point. Okay, it
like
didn't
once,
need.
but I'm just saying, once you're down 0-2, you guys were winning with your subs. I think that may be a decision point that you can make. Thinking like, maybe I am the problem, and you could sub yourself like back out. You know what I'm
Oh,
saying?
true. I could.
Yeah.
But
You
I
know?
don't think I'll need to. I think I'll save that for a harder team. You know what I mean? Maybe someone a little more challenging.
Cool.
Close to
Maybe-
left.
maybe
Syndicate
like,
strokers. I think you're gonna.
I beat them too. So I
Yeah,
don't
no,
know.
I-
We can keep talking
Good.
about that.
Honestly, you should beat Luxinen and then flame him on my behalf. He's still
Yeah,
legal
he's
pod reviews. so.
he's an illegal AD carry. I tell him.
Yeah,
that all the
you
time.
should.
What
You
a
should
very
send
big
him
fraud.
my regards as well for his
Yeah.
fraudulent status.
Very big fraud. Yes, agreed.
I love that we can bond over flaming Luxinen. It's like
Look,
really the important things
Syndicate-
in life.
Syndicate would be a much better team if they just sent Codus mid. Just send Codus mid. Codus good mid laner. He's
But
not a
they're
support.
still putting Coda support. I thought that was like a
Yeah, no,
practical
they-
joke that was being played on me.
Yeah, no, he
Oh,
played
God.
support every series except the one against us, and that's because we got a little tiff, a little bit of a rivalry. So
Yeah.
they're gonna pull out the big guns against us.
Famous Fortnite player who still hasn't played Fortnite with me, by the way. That's kind of fucked up.
Well,
crazy.
If you really think about it. Like,
So
Yikers.
look, my opinion of these playoffs is CG Blood Moon versus Summoners After Dark semifinals is gonna feed families. I think that'll probably cure world hunger. That's gonna be a series to behold. Yeah, I mean bottom side, I just don't think bottom side matters whatsoever. Whoever wins between Summoners After Dark and CG Blood Moon on the top side wins the whole thing. There we go.
Bold of you to think Summoners After Dark's getting to that matchup, but
Both of you to think you're gonna win.
I will say, look, I do expect that Blood Moon takes this. However, I think Ulu Slayer is one of the better mids in this league,
Agreed.
Okay.
and there is a very long shot, very, very long shot, that they somehow play around mid well enough to beat them, but I don't expect that to happen.
Depends on who the jungler is.
True.
That's all I'm gonna say. Can't
Hopping
fling
back down
people.
to our lower bracket with bare minimum and syndicate strokers. I have a little bit of op information. I definitely didn't accidentally scrim bare minimum the other day on a separate
Oh.
roster than this roster, but they did win. I'll give them that, but it was 2-1, and I think this matchup between them and strokers should be pretty fun to watch. Unironically, I feel like if there's any player to watch in the series, it's going to be Mufas. At least that's who's listed as their jungler on the master deck, unless it's changed. I think if he's able to kind of exert his presence into the map and make bare minimum play kind of off tilter, that they definitely have a way into the series and winning it. Tilted Towers is also another really good player on that syndicate roster. On top of that, I think if bare minimum gets access to a bunch of their priority picks, which I'll throw you a bone, Badger. I'm not going to say anything about them, but I feel like if they have access to those, their team fighting is just much better when they're on comfort, and I think it can be. I don't think it'll be a shutout. I think it'll possibly go to 5 games.
Yeah, I was looking at this, and this was the one I like had the most problems with. I feel like if they got again, if Codis went mid and Codis plays mid, I think Syndicate will win the series. The problem is if Codis doesn't play mid and they put him in support where they have been playing him, I think bare minimum will win. It's just I think that is the vibe, right? Bare minimum's been had the same roster the whole split, but it's like it feels like they're such a one-note team playing through Dog Davis. Like if you look, he's like over twice as many kills as the next closest person on his team, and it's just, you know what I mean? Like every resource seems to get funneled into him. So that's why I'm like, Syndicate has like opportunities if they put Codis mid and play like heavy enchanters with Luxodon, because that's the only way my man can function is with an enchanter. That's just true. Like I've watched it a lot. Okay, he does not do well with engaged supports.
Yeah.
You heard it here
Austin, you
on the
gotta shoot this
podcast.
man.
He just gave away all the secrets.
Now, when you see Soraka, Janna, and Renata banned 3 games in a row next week,
Yeah,
you know who to
that's
blame.
the reason. True. But yeah, I think bare minimum of Codis plays support.
Taco Riven, any opinions on this?
I like the name bare
Um,
minimum. I don't know how any of them play, so bare minimum. Because they're
I'm
going to give the
somewhat-
bare minimum.
I'm somewhat familiar with bare minimum. I think that series will be an interesting watch. I just think that Syndicate probably pulls that one out. Bare minimum as a team. Like I think not to like echo too much of what was already said, but they are kind of just that one note team. I think Syndicate, if they play around that, then I think they have a better shot of winning it.
Mm-hmm. Then we'll go on to our final matchup for Crusader playoffs and quarterfinals between my wonderful dream team and Raw Crusader versus Summoners After Dark. Going off our rosters here, I think I understand why Summoners After Dark is the favorite to a lot of people. They're a team that looks good. I'll give them that. I will say it makes me wonder how much of a difference there is in roster strength between Sector 1 and 2. Because when I look at Summoners After Dark's games, this really just looks like the Striker show on repeat. every game. I want to say Alios was a late addition to their roster in the season, I think.
He
And
was-
Changes after the first week, I believe, or
but
something.
I would have to go through the roster ad channel and find the date
But
to see when he was added if he wasn't already on the team.
gotcha. Alios has actually stepped up huge for this team. Just not only being able to play weak side, but also sometimes taking carries into weak side and still just coming out either head. So I think that'll at least be a fun matchup for me and them up top. I'm super excited to see Mustard and Striker. I think they are probably the best 280 carries in all of Crusader. I'll glaze my boy a little bit, but I think unironically, if there was a top team we had to play in this quarterfinal,
Mm-hmm.
I would have liked to play yellow, just for the fun fact of me and Sodium's history. But
Right.
Summers After Dark and us have the exact same build in where our strengths are at in our roster. And so I think this is going to be less of a hand check and more who can outdraft and who can macro the other team more.
Yeah, I mean, both of these teams have like the longest average game times, right? Both teams like to go, I think they're both at 31 or 32 minutes, whereas everyone else is in the high 20s. So I expect these games to all be long, drawn out fights.
Okay, well, I have a question for you guys. Having seen, the rest of the split so far, what do you think we're going to see champion pick wise coming forward? Since everybody's had a chance to go over the VODs, look at, play against people, etc., and see champ pools. What do you think we're going to actually see coming out of these teams trying to push their way into the semifinals?
I'd be willing to put money on it. I guarantee you Jinx is the highest picked 80 carry across every split. I think Jinx was already very strong, a very easy, good team fighting 80 carry. And on top of that, her lethality build just randomly coming into light, whereas I don't think it's as good in comp as it is in solo queue. And then Riot just decided to say, hey, have more attack speed on your Q, by the way. She was already popular now. I think she's going to be the highest presence 80 carry.
Okay.
I would say probably the highest priority champ in general will probably be Garen, right? I think we've already touched base on that earlier in this episode, that this champ is just really good. In 2 roles, I think that will be the highest priority champion. In bot lane, I don't know if I agree with the Jinx. I think there are better 80 carries than her right now. And she does require more of a... She requires teams to play around her more. I think you'll see either Jin or MF eat just as much.
I was going to
because they're
say,
still
having
moving.
seen all the leagues, I haven't actually seen as much Jinx as I have MF and Jin. So, like,
I will say this is
I'm
the patch
excited
MF
to see
also
it.
gets tagged down.
Yeah,
Yeah,
MF
that's
takes a
Takes a hit.
base AD hit and
Okay.
BT
and
nerf.
the BT nerf, which
So
and
we're
I don't
looking
know
at
if Fleet got nerfed as well, but if she took
Yeah,
the
it
Fleet,
did.
nerf,
Fleet did get
like,
nerfed as well.
so
But
so
yeah.
we're looking at Jinx maybe taking the place of MF with this change.
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
potentially.
I
But-
think MF's pretty non-existent now.
She was played last night, so I wasn't.
Yeah, I don't think she's not non-existent, or she's not that far gone, right? I still think she has favorable matchups. I wouldn't put her as low as like Varus. I think Ashe gets bumped back up because of the MF nerfs. MF or Ashe already does well in the MF, and on top of that, like, she's not really gotten hit with any of that stuff. So I think Ashe priority is probably gonna go back up for playoffs, which will probably indifferently kind of rise Varus up because he's just a comp 80 carry, and I know Luxodon plays it a lot. So if you see Varus a lot, it's probably coming out of the syndicate match. But yeah, that's that. I think my big one is Jin right now. I think Jin is so crazy because he's good.
everywhere.
He's good with gold. He's good without gold. He's just like He's just a really good character right now.
Taco Riven.
Well, I was gonna say in regards to mid jungle, it seems like there's gonna be more of a push to maybe get control mages back in. We're getting some nerfs to Nasus, which is gonna really help in regards to not seeing him just scaling, and then Garen's still gonna be a problem in the mid lane. I think as in general he didn't really get touched, and it's gonna be interesting to like theory craft around that champion just as a whole. But I think control mages are gonna make a resurgence. Ari was already good, and she's getting a buff that's gonna probably put her a little bit over the top. Hui's getting a buff, but mainly for support. But Hui is a champion that can thrive really well, especially with his wave clear. He has a good pick into a Garen in regards to just being able to shove waves, and then Garen's kind of just forced to just be in his lane. Jace is going to be getting buffed a little bit substantially, so I don't know. In regards to mid lane, I think we're going to get more control mages. Jungle wise, though, the big one's Jarvan. Jarvan's getting a huge buff. That's probably going to thrust him up a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised if he sees more play, especially with control mages potentially being back in the mid meta. So I think that's kind of things to look out for. And Viego is of course getting buffed as well, so we're getting some more bruisers in the jungle. Yeah.
Okay, just to update, Aelios has actually been on the team since week 3.
Okay.
So just updating that information you guys were asking about earlier.
Yep. Taco, you have any champion pick ideas?
I'm just hoping Seraphine comes back. To be completely honest, that champion is gonna take over any type of leagues, or I guess comp play, when you have Shields and Ivern coming back out. And just trying to keep up with Garen. I think Zeri will be big, and even Ashe, just to keep slowing down the Garen. I think that's going to be a good counter pick for later.
True. Cherrie, our resident Belveth abuser. What champion picks do you think are going to rise in priority with the patch change into these playoffs now?
I mean, there's a lot of. In terms of what the patch changed, Riot wanted to force a bit of viability for a lot of AD junglers, and instead of like buffing the items, they just buffed specific champions. Makes sense because jungle items are shared a lot with other classes, or it's not just like Faded Ashes where you can just buff Faded Ashes and call it a day. So they're like really forcing J4 in the meta by giving him, I mean, he was already pretty strong. They give him percent health damage, Viego as well. They did nerf his clear a little bit, but the base AD changes makes it a net positive change, very, very slightly. You're getting 2 autos in, you get 3 AD, but 5 less proc damage. Viego's gonna be good, Sinza's gonna be better. It's like these like AD bruisers, a few of them have a little more space to play. Vi got nerfed, and that's more of like a pro play nerf, because if they left Vi at the same strength, he would just choke out all of these other AD champions anyway, and it wouldn't be a point in buffing them. In terms of other roles, Smolder is nerfed, so we're going to see less of him. Varus is no longer like strongest AD carry on the patch. Some counter picks got buffed. Samira, I don't know if we have many
She's
Samira
still
players.
broken though, so we can't use her.
Oh right, she's still broken. Well, I
Yeah.
don't think there are many Samira players in the league anyway. But with these like 80 lane bullies getting nerfed, MF losing 280, Varus losing damage on his poke build, it opens a lot more options for farming champions. Jinx also got a small buff, and her like poor lane matchups getting nerfed makes her a little more viable. Zeri got nerfed because she'll ruin pros. Same thing with Ziggs. I think Ziggs is still fine in non-pro play. I think he should still be seen play in the bot lane. Nasus nerfs means I think we're going to see a little less of the Nasus mid, but again, we're in like low, so I don't really think it's a problem, to be honest. Lissandra even though she got nerfed, I think she's still strong after the buffs that they gave her last patch. Yeah, I mean, a lot of the champions that I probably want to see less is like Azir Corki. They're like already harder to play champions, and they're sort of getting gutted so they don't ruin worlds. But at our level, I don't think Azir Corki is like the move ever. Ari is probably a little better too. Aurora nerf is also. I mean, I don't think people in this league like play Aurora enough that I'm gonna be like seeing her consistently. But I don't think the Aurora nerfs are terrible if you know how to play her.
Yeah.
It's a little all over the place, but it didn't change a lot, so it's what it is.
Yeah, I would say the Aurora nerfs don't do a whole lot to the champion. I think you're still gonna pick it in the spots you're gonna pick it. It just makes her ult a little less suffocating when she's ahead of you, where she's just not 100 to zeroing you from full. So other than that, and then like rune changes to pretty much make sustain 80 carries not be able to just AFK farm in mid lane till 14 is the other big thing.
It's the fleet nerfs and also like eventually like BT nerfs. I am interested to see if like the Luden's Shadow Flame like Storm Surge, just like AP Burst Core. I want to see if we get more usage out of those items. I still think like the design of Storm Surge is inherently flawed. A backloaded damage item for a burst mage, I don't think is good game design, but they did try and push it a little more into viability. And there are some of these champions that have been seeing play that could potentially use them. I know like camps like Quay that aren't that. I mean, we've seen opt into a lot of double burn recently. Camps like Quay, even like Lux, these long range champions, Quay, Lux, Zerath, that could potentially use, stuff like Ludens and Storm Surge and Shadow Flame to shift away from these like Leandri's reliant build. I mean, there's less people are going like burst builds on like Lux Zerath already, but it's they're going to be more viable with these changes. I think we don't really see much like Quay bot, Lux bot in the leagues right now, but they're good.
Yeah.
And if you can play them, you should be playing them because they're stronger than like actual AD carries, especially with the other like traditional poke options of Varus and MF being nerfed. Like if you want to win lane, you should just lock like a mage like Quay. I mean, AD carry players they're like bad, so I don't know how to play mages. So
the only other champion I would say that I think has a chance of making a really big resurgence again, kind of out of nowhere, will be Syndra, unironically. Just because I'm curious if some of these teams are still just going to try to force AD carry mids after the nerfs. I'm kind of hoping they don't, but we've already seen one series where someone tried blinding an AD carry mid and got Syndra thrown in their face and got one hit on repeat.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping it doesn't happen, but if people still try to, I think that is going to be the premier answer to it, and people are going to find out very quickly why you can't do it anymore.
I agree. I think Syndra is a conceptually simple enough champion. I don't think she's like an easy champion by any means. She has a lot of skill expression in her kit, but regardless of whether you are a Sentinel level player or like higher level player, you can still just press R on them, and the AD carry is probably not going to be good enough to play around that range, right? So there's a very, very high skill floor, which involves spawning a bunch of dark spheres and then throwing them in the AD carry's face.
Yeah.
I think the item changes helps Syndra quite a bit as well. I think that's a champion that you probably see rise in priority generally across competitive play. I also think Taco, you're on to something more than you know. I had a chance to sit in on some NACL scrims this past week, and Seraphine is getting picked a lot. She's getting picked as a response to Ziggs in the bot lane, and getting picked just as in general as a mage in the bot lane because her wave clear is so strong, and the utility she brings with shielding and her ult in team fights has been huge. Paired with a jungler like Ivern makes it very difficult to team fight into that. I mean, I started seeing it 2-3 weeks ago in the NACL playoffs. The Seraphine Sentinel lane was ridiculously strong. So I'm surprised it hasn't been picked up more elsewhere, because I do think it is probably one of the strongest bot lanes that you could draft right now. But I do think that Syndra got a whole lot of love with these item nerfs. So I expect to see her rise in priority.
All right. Do we have anything else for Crusader?
I think we covered pretty much everything.
All right, cool beans. We will move on over to Warden, which is Taco and Cherrie. Take it away, you guys.
I'm gonna make Taco go first.
You're gonna make me talk first? I can't
Mhm.
talk first. I'm scared of people.
Yeah, I can tell.
Cherrie decided to skull fuck a team. Against her good friend Septi. NLE fucked the I don't even know who it was.
Seneca.
Seneca.
That was an incredible series, by the way. It is.
Yeah, the NLE just looked like a better team. Like they look like one player.
I don't know. I think that game 5 could have gone either way, and I'm really sad we didn't get it.
I think it's.
The...
I think it's.
Sorry, go ahead.
I think it's very sad that like they didn't get to play game 5. As someone that has played CLOL, I think the like mental imagery of these people playing like a very long, hard fought best of 5 and then getting kicked out by security at 11:30, I think is a very funny and be a very relatable experience. I remember like playing on my CLOL team and university having like genuinely zero care about what the league team did.
Mm-hmm.
Sucks. We were actually like kind of not bad, but it's. I mean, I'm glad because I don't want to play against Seneca's jungler. I think he's like the worst jungler out of the two, but I think the way he plays is like more ill in the head, and that's like more annoying for me, you know?
Well, so what's going on right now is that Piglet is talking to his team, and Terraris is talking to his team. There may be a final match. There may not be. It's up in the air right now. We will keep you guys updated as we are updated, but at the moment it stands at the forfeit. But if they both agree to it, then there will be that last match, and it's instigated by NLE, who doesn't want, at least NLE's Piglet, who doesn't really want to take a win like that. He feels it's a little cheap and not worthy of Seneca's time. And he doesn't want to see Seneca have to drop out because they got kicked out of the computer lab by security. So if we get anything on that, we will update you guys. But at the moment, it does stand at the forfeit until they say otherwise.
I need NLA to lock in because I don't want to pin ban Fiddlesticks every game. That sounds annoying. So yeah, I mean, I get it. Like it is definitely the morally correct thing to do. I mean, they're not obligated to it, but it's a very valid and noble thing. But in my own personal self-interest, like I don't want to play against Hex/Hoodier again. Like what the fuck is that? So I need Henley to lock the puck in.
I thoroughly enjoyed all 4 games watching the top matchup in that series. It was back and forth quite a bit.
Yeah, and that Ladae's guy, he falls into the category of like players that I don't think are bad, but players that I think are definitely ill in some form. I mean, that guy just like perma-fist fights he has like the solo kill leader, and I think that's by virtue of just like perma-fist fighting the enemy top laner on every single wave. And to be honest, like I respect that. It clearly works. But again, it's also like really annoying. I don't really know. I think those are like the 2 Seneca players, their top laner and their jungler. Their bot lane is like not real. I don't even know who their mid laner is. I don't remember.
Is it,
Seneca series was so
Uber?
long ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you could say the name, you could say any name, and I'd believe you because like that's like the frame of reference I'm working upon right now. It's like those are like the top laner and the Ledays guy and the fucking Terrarium guy. I don't know what his name is, but those are the only two notable people. I think those are the only two like good people on that team as well.
Yeah, in their game 3, I want to say, from what I remember off, because I watched a bit of this series on the stream as well. Game 3, they actually just lose to Days solo killing Nard or turret and just base racing them.
Yeah.
Super unfortunate, but
Yeah. Nar was
Yeah,
super ahead too.
But
yeah.
I mean, I produced all the games last night, so I was definitely there. But Ledays had a really rough time all night long.
Yeah, he was. He got camped in game 4 pretty hard. That was,
Oh yeah, that was tough.
That was keyboard smashing upset.
Yeah,
Brother walked a lane to get Viego and Poppy ganked out of his own bush. I'm like, if I'm him, I'm throwing my keyboard actually.
yeah. So he had a rough night.
It was also a really good performance from Professor Hex on Syndra in that game 4.
Mm-hmm.
Let me check before I
Yeah.
say some outlandish.
I guess on the other side, like NLE, they have their jungler, who I think is like a better player overall, but also plays like, I want to say like, not like more like a human as in better, but more like a human as in like you generally like have an idea of what that guy is doing because he's usually doing like correct things, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't think Emrys would play Hex / Udyr in my game of League of Legends.
I will say the
that's
one
good.
pick in this series that came kind of weird was, and I could be wrong because I can't see all of the win game screens for some reason, but Anivia.
Yeah, Professor Hex
Where
is,
did this just come from? Because both sides end up playing it.
I mean, Professor Hex is an Anivia player, and I assume I didn't watch because I frankly didn't care, but if both sides are playing it, then I can see a world where it's like considered a takeaway pick.
Yeah, because Hex plays it in game 1 until weird, and then gets it again game 2 to then the third game. Seneca just said enough's enough and took it, and they do it again in game 4.
Yeah, game 4. I don't know. I don't think it's worth the takeaway if you look at the way the matches went. I mean, game 1 was a pretty good Anivia performance. Game 2 was not fantastic. It wasn't bad, but like you look at the 255 and what do you go 064 on Anivia. I don't think at that point after going 255, I don't think you take it away. I mean, if you're that worried about it, ban it and play a different matchup. But I don't think you have the Anivia chops to be playing it into this guy who's an Anivia player.
Yeah.
If only there was another series that happened last night.
True.
If only.
Cherrie dodging the cancellation letter once again.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've like, listen, the cancellation letter was only if I lost to RAR and then that other team I called shit. I feel like I have been like vaguely respectful to the other teams. Right? Maybe? Can someone
I
fact
don't
check
know.
this?
I'm gonna be not back checking anything. Wait, it's a
It's like-
best of 5
Yes, it's the best of
for the
5 during
finals.
semis.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's the best of 5 in semis too.
See, Sherry's on the podcast, and I know NLE and Piglet. I like NLE a little bit more. They looked more as a team versus a one-man army.
I think if you're talking
About
about
NLE
Cherry
and-
being a one-man army,
didn't-
I think you're
yeah.
being very disingenuous.
Yeah, that's very
Peel's-
disingenuous. I did not do shit that series.
Yeah,
Peel's played a very good weak side top that all 3 games. Peel's played very well.
Fields
I
is my
also
little
paid
weak
a
side
l-
kitten. That's my goat.
I also paid a lot more attention to the NLE game than Cherry's team. I was like, oh, Cherry's gonna win. So
I will say
Okay.
Baywa tried to throw game 3
Okay.
with some very questionable decisions on the
Lucian, right?
Lucian. Yeah.
Leo's my goat. He sometimes just gets bored, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Ultimately,
That's
he-
what it looked like too.
it's like he gets bored, but even when he's bored, he's like doing more good than he has harm. So I don't really care. Like if he has like 8 deaths, I don't really care as long as he has like 15 kills. You know what I'm saying?
So what you're saying is you rather have 8 or 15 kills and 8 deaths versus 10 kills and 3 deaths?
No, I didn't say that. Okay. Fine. I know critical thinking is just not your strong suit, and that's okay.
Gaslit.
All I gotta do is keep attacking.
It's okay. I mean, no, that series is like kind of boring, to be honest. Against Akuma, game 1 they picked Senna Renata, which is possibly God's unholiest bot lane. I'm not sure. I think someone got to rewind the tape. During draft we spent a solid like 5 minutes just discussing whether they like intentionally picked those champions together or they were gonna ask for like a draft remake or something. That was like terrible. They couldn't really win that game because they drafted like not the brightest people
Yeah.
ever draft. Did I play that
My-
game? I played Gwen. That
Yeah.
was fun.
My only thought in that is they went maybe Senna can still AD carry because Senna can auto through Yasuo Windwall.
Hmm.
Yeah, but then her ult gets blocked, so it's like if her team is diving past her and Yasuo's can split it, he can stop. It's fine. It's not. I mean, it's fine because we won and we weren't the ones playing it, you know. But if we were the ones playing it, then I'd yell at Llama or something. Like, what is Senna Renata? It's disgusting.
I
What
was
else
so
happened
Not
that
a
game? That was
robot lane.
I was
I
so
got
confused
Septi
about
stole
that.
Baron from me. I was really tilted, to be honest. Not because like I don't know. If
He's
you
like
like
getting
look at
good.
my stream, Septi like steals the Baron and then just go to Spotify and just turn my music up like 30%. It was like it was not good because I should never be like losing that spot. I don't know. I feel like we didn't like when we 3-0'd them, which was chill. I don't think we played like particularly good. I think we played less bad than we did in like previous games, which is pretty good. But I still think I'm like running it down every game, so it doesn't matter. As long as we just don't run it down, we'll be fine. But statistics show that I've been running it down, so
I wouldn't say you're running it down. I think game 1 was a draft diff. I think you guys way out team fought them in game 2. And then game 3, I think they had a chance to actually win that game if they're I love Boulder, man. Boulder's my boy. I think he played the Alistair kind of like a monkey. I think he
Boulder
put
did
him
not have a series.
Yeah, he put himself in some really bad positions on that Alistair that like I feel like that was the one lane the one time that series could have gone their way in bot lane and
Yeah.
it just they played it really poorly, unfortunately.
I don't really know. I remember game 1, I think we just like Ash ulted Boulder like 6 separate times. I don't think he like learned. I think twice in a row we just killed them on midwave. They just like postured really bad on midwaves. That's honestly like a lot of the things that happened. It was in multiple games too. Because game 1 they just like sat in neutral with Senna, Renata, J4, and those champions don't deal any fucking damage. So even though like Ryze and Mordekaiser are like decent like late game threats, they're like perma playing inside because we have better side laners. So we just rip Ash ult onto Renata or Senna or J4 or whoever, and I just like click on. I think that happened like genuinely like 3 times in a row, back to back to back, and we just won. Also, for some reason, Mordekaiser thought he could 1v1 me when I was level 10 quad. That was like really disgusting. I don't know why he did that. He just like pressed R on me and then I killed him and then I got his tower. That's like it's diabolical. I don't know why we're ever like throwing the game like that for free. And game 2 is the same thing. The fights they kept just overextending on midwave and we just kept killing them on midwave because we had like 7 AoE ultimates. And
Yeah.
I don't know, I was playing J4. I just ulted in, died, and then my team won the team fight. It's like, jungle cap, cheers.
Yeah, because in game 2, it looked like Akuma was in a decent spot with Camille having don't want to say a big lead, but enough where she could kind of push her influence in the lane, and then out of nowhere, they just take like a 3v3 topside, and Rumble gets every kill in it, and then immediately
Yeah.
Camille never gets to play the game again.
I don't really know. I think they just like that game. Braum didn't really have an impact because they're playing Ezreal Braum, which is like not a lane that does anything ever. So Ezreal had to just play the lane like, I mean, he didn't have to, but he did play the lane like a bitch. But Braum didn't like get any value across the map at all. We were winning topside anyway, because I could just like tell Moko to come walk to Grubs, and then we'd win a fight there, or even just the three of us, we'd go kill Dab, and then we'd go walk top. It was just bad. I don't really know. The team seems to have fallen apart since the regular season match, because they didn't have their like top sub that they had against us, Basting, which I kind of miss. I like playing against him. He's my friend, but it's like Basting's just like definitely a better player than Klein, and they also didn't seem to have as much prep done or as much knowledge of how to draft like humans. I don't really know what there wasn't one single problem. There's multiple problems, and those were just some of them. I'm in game 3. Oh, game 3 was the game I played Bel'Veth. That one was really
Yeah.
tilting. Because I didn't get any grubs, and not getting grubs makes me sad. I mean, it didn't really matter. We just killed them on repeat.
Yeah, that didn't matter at all.
The Anivia coming out again.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I did catch the last part of the game 3.
And they
But
were
that was-
ahead in that game, right? I
I-
think they were. At
I
some
think
point,
at one point they
had-
were, yeah.
At some point, they had to have been ahead because at some point I was tilted. I don't get tilted unless we're behind. So, at some point they were ahead. I think they just threw. Okay, this would happen because they had this like Mundo, and then he went Warmogs into Hullbreaker for some godforsaken
Yes.
reason.
Oh my
And-
god.
And yeah, like sure, you can play Hullbreaker Mundo into Orin and like you can sort of ignore the Orin's damage, but we have an Anivia, so we just had Anivia sit in lane against Mundo, and the Mundo couldn't really play. I think I went bot and I killed him once when he tried to shove up, and then the other time I went bot, and then they decided to hit Baron because they saw me bot, and I just left and I clicked back to Baron, and they don't really know how to fight Baron, so they just died, and then they just threw any bit of a lead that they had. Kind of
I
rough.
forgot about the Mundo build until you brought that up, and I wasn't looking at it. And God, that was so fucking tilting watching that on stream.
Yeah, I'm sorry for reminding you. I can't imagine that would be like. I mean, it's like a pleasant experience for me because it means that they're losing, but for no one else that has personal stake in that game, watching whatever that was happen. What do you think we're gonna split push against Anivia? Like, yeah, okay, good
It was
plan.
never gonna happen.
Great plan, in fact. I mean, they should have won the game. We
And I
played there
still
like
think
dogs.
that Mundo split push is better if you go as normal build with the Heartsteel and Titanic Hydra.
See, I'm not an expert on Mundo because I don't play that champ. So I'm gonna take you at your word for it. And I found out later that you lied to me. I'm gonna be very sad.
I think it's also better if Mundo doesn't emote in the Anivia ult in front of his base, but
I mean, okay, at that point,
game
they
was
were
pretty over at that
probably-
moment.
I think they got like super tilted after game 1 and then just sort of collapsed after that. I don't really know. I think like specifically their mid laner, because when we played them in regular season, this mid laner was like prime fucking Chovy. Then we played against him today, and he just was like, what's a bad mid laner? Like this split Palafox. That's like a bad mid laner.
Jojo.
Okay.
True.
Yeah, I mean,
You mean the jobless mid laner?
Yeah.
True. Certified Twitch
Yeah.
streamer now.
I'm basically the point is that he just was like a shadow of himself. I remember like last time he played against his Orianna, he committed hate crimes on me and my entire family for generations to come, but it just didn't have any impact pretty much the entire series. Just rough. I mean, okay, I feel bad. That was kind of mean, but it is more like my expectation was set really high last time we played him, and then the expectation like fell flat. Whereas with like the other players, I didn't have like as high of an expectation, so I didn't like I wasn't like as disappointed when they like ran it down, you know? I don't really know. I don't know why we lost them in regular season. I think we were just like really, 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 really bad. I remember that series. I played Shyvana and I got like we didn't do anything. I think Olaf like ran us through and then Oriana ran us through. Oh well. We won.
I was-
That's all that matters.
Curious, so I just went and looked at the stats.
Mhm.
Hullbreaker on Mundo has a 0.4% build rate globally.
The only world it makes sense to build it in that game is if you can just get into the moon or into the Ornn and just crash waves. But you also just hit a point where if you're Hullbreaker, Warmog's Mundo, Ornn just holds the wave in front of the turret, and you can't just kill Ornn 100-0. So like, there's just no point where that actually makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, build stats aren't everything. I think I'm like the only player in like Diamond Plus that still builds Flicker Blades on Bel'Veth, and I won on it. So results-based analysis means that build is the best.
Yeah, I don't know. You look at Mundo's kit, and if you're gonna split push, he gets. Was he even running Demolish in that game? He had to have been, right?
Don't remember.
But I mean, you're gonna get better value out of Demolish with more health, and you get what 300 health out of Hullbreaker. Is that what it is?
Something like that.
Yeah, 350 health, as opposed to 900 health with Heartsteel, 1,000 health Warmogs, 400 health with Unending Despair, or 500 health with Bloodmail. So like, it's just, I don't know. I don't see a world in which it's
Not
worth
good.
picking unless you'd have to have the other team would just have to have no wave clear, and if you have an Anivia on the other side, it's just bad.
Yeah, I agree. Is there any
I
other
agree.
like Warden topics that are important? I really think so.
What's our next matchup? Now that
Who's
those
MVP?
two are the winners.
We have Contingent Orange versus NLE currently, isn't it?
Yeah. Depending
Yeah,
on what
current-
happens with NLE
Yeah.
Seneca thing.
I'm playing versus someone. That's all I know, and that's all I
Yeah, right now
generally
you
care
guys
about.
right now I know Soul talked to your team yesterday after your match and did let you guys know to prep for NLE because we don't know if it's gonna go through or not.
Okay.
So at the moment that's what it is. So anything else for Warden?
Not that I have.
Any season-long? I feel like we have like one more series. It's time to like ask your long burning questions about Warden, which is a league that I don't think like a lot of people care about. It's like I don't blame them. Kind of boring.
Well, it's new to the LXC, so a lot of our older people are just getting into it or are still in their own ranking leagues. So I think it'll gain in more fan base as we go on. So
Damn, you hear that? Everyone just called you all low bobs. I wouldn't take that.
Okay.
yeah, they know better. All right, so if Warden is over for the moment, we will move on over to the community questions. And we're gonna start with Resilience question. He wants to know specifically why you guys think the winner of RAR versus Summoners is going to be RAR. Because I know we already actually answered the question itself. But why specifically do you think so?
RAR versus who?
Summoners
Yeah.
After Dark.
I don't know.
Do we think that?
I don't think we think that. I don't think that.
I don't think
I
that.
bet see when we went over the thing, everybody was like, "Yeah, I think RAR is gonna win."
I think
So-
I was.
Well,
I
I
think
said
was.
summoners.
I was gone. If or maybe I forgot to say it. I think Striker Griffin like skull fucks RAR and is not close.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Okay.
Yeah, I was thinking along those lines.
Yeah, I think you even said that the winner of the CG Blood Moon versus Summoners is the one who's going to win
The whole thing, yeah.
The whole thing,
I
yeah.
literally didn't. Yeah, I have it as a foregone conclusion that Sumner's gonna beat RAR, but
All I'm saying is when we beat Summoners, I expect some letters.
I mean, hey, cool. You bring
You guys beat Summoners and
if you
making
give me a cancellation letter, then give me a cancellation letter. I just think that if y'all two are similar teams, I think they're the better team they're the better team. Like
I mean,
if it's gonna be a head to head of you guys playing the same style, I think they just blast you.
if you guys win, I'm making Griffin write my cancellation letter. If he loses to you guys, then at that point that's on him.
Listen,
He is a good enough player that he is a good enough player that I think he should just like run you through.
So the one things I'll talk about it is the mid lane matchup. I don't know much about Zelda guy, to be honest, and it's kind of the issue of doing the 2-sector system is when we have touched 0 teams from this side, there's not even a way to kind of judge where if Summers After Dark smashes Conduit, but we beat Conduit in like a crossover game, that we can kind of judge it. But I think their weak point will be mid, and if our mid can get a lead and then use his lead to swing bot lane, I admit Griffin is probably the better support just because I've been playing a while. But like I said earlier, I think Mustard and Striker are probably the best 280 carries. So I think the kinds of leads Summoners After Dark has been getting bot lane won't be as egregious if they get them, which I think will slow down their game in the way they play a lot. And then jungle, I don't know much about their jungler, in all honesty. But I'm assuming he's going to get put on an absolute tank duty because it's kind of all anyone ever does in Crusader. So I think it's going to be a good series. Obviously, Summoners are the favorite to go into it, but I wouldn't count us out by any means.
Okay, okay. So the next question is a interesting one, I think maybe. But Ultimize would like to know if Flash is actually a good summoner spell. It is one we know Doki never uses. So what do you guys think?
It's like 97% of the time it's so popular that it's like Riot literally needs to balance the game around champions having flash. It is a good summoner spell. I don't know.
I feel like there's 2 ways to look at it. There's a difference between good and strong. I think Flash is by far the strongest summoner spell in the game. But kind of what he's saying, if you're just saying, is it good? Like, is it good for the game? It probably isn't. As an AD carry, if my job is to space out Darius, and then Darius magically blinks onto me with a 90% slow, and I get told to go fuck myself. I don't think that's inherently good game design.
Well, see, the thing is, it's not. The question isn't asking if it's good from a game design perspective. It's asking, is it a good summoner spell? It is an overpowered summoner spell.
Yeah.
If you're asking about a game design standpoint, then yeah, it's not great because like every single champion literally is forced to take it in most cases, apart from like a select few like Hecarim and Tryndamere. Champions already have an inherent dash or ability to dash, but like if your game is so heavily reliant on it, then yeah, I mean it's not a great thing, but it also speaks to its power, so it is a good summoner spell.
I'm gonna say is give me back revive and level 1 teleport.
Yeah, give me revive.
Level 1 teleport, dude. The Avenger TPs bot lane were great.
For real, dude. What do you mean I can't 4-man bot lane at 5 minutes? This is
Oh,
trash.
you can. I got 4-man bot lane 3 times.
Yeah, he saw like 3 times.
I think
still mad about it.
Man, I really enjoyed just watching pro games, and then there'd be like that 4-minute 2v2 bot that all of a sudden turns into a full-on 5v5, and it was the funniest thing.
I thought it was good content and good for the game.
Yeah.
Like I understand why, from a pro aspect, it's not good, quote unquote, but God, it was good for viewership.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, keeping in that line of thought with skills, the next one is from Zelda Guy Zero, wanting to know Ignite, Ghost, Exhaust, or Barrier, which is the best secondary summoner skill for a
TP was
mid
in there,
laner.
wasn't it?
For a mid laner. No, it is not. I literally just said Ignite, Ghost, Exhaust, Barrier. Best secondary summoner spell for mid lane.
TP's in there too,
specifically.
actually.
It is in there actually too.
I just copy and pasted his message, so he must have updated it since I did so.
Oh, I mean, it's
well,
in the
it's
doc,
teleport.
Yeah.
But it's teleport by a wide margin. But if I were to say, if it's not teleport, then I'd say probably, I'd say barrier in competitive, ignite in solo queue. But if we're talking all around, it's TP.
Yeah, it's just mid laner.
Just for mid lane?
Just for mid lane.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I'd say the same.
In mid lane, it's probably TP.
I
It's
feel
just
like
it's too versatile. It allows weaker side lane champions to actually just be able to catch waves and it not like ruin a game at 30 minutes. But
That's-
if you're talking offense, it's probably just barrier.
Yeah.
I think teleport is a crutch for mid laners, and I think it's sad that it gets used so much. But you can't avoid it. Like, you have to have it because the lane will get stomped if you don't, and you take a bad trade early. But I think if it didn't exist, I think we would have.
Dude, imagine they delete teleport. Oh
Yeah,
my
I mean,
gosh.
They're
I
bringing the
think
slander up.
I
Fix my
think
lane.
it would, but I think it would make mid laners play a whole lot differently, right? Like then you can't take bad early trades. Your wave states matter so much more. You know, because if you're moving to something, you can't just move and then teleport back to your lane to catch a wave, or teleport into a fight. You have to put your wave in a proper state and then move.
How dare you expect mid laners to learn how to control waves?
Yeah, I know, crazy, right? And I know it's super hard to control waves mid too, with how short the lane is. But yeah, I think it has to be teleport because you're just kind of in a really bad spot if you don't take it. Unless you're taking ignite, but then you're beholden to you have to get the pre-level 6 kill with ignite and really start to roll your lane.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Like if you take ignite, you're gambling on using that ignite to give yourself a big enough advantage. Because then, if the opposing mid laner takes that TP, then you're at a teleport disadvantage potentially. So then you have to play your entire macro game around that, and that becomes a problem. So
yep.
Okay. Last question then would be, if Snowball was a spell in Summoner's Rift, would it ever be picked? And if it did, what champions would benefit from it most from Beards and Cats?
I would say it would be 100% it would be picked. Champions, I could definitely see it. I mean, I guess we're assuming it'd be like you have to see it in like I could see engage supports using it a lot. Just from like a offensive perspective, assassins that want to take ignite might consider taking snowball instead. I could see some junglers maybe like even Hecarim really wants to ghost, but like there's certain junglers that like tank engagers that could take it. I wouldn't really see it that much from like top lane. I don't really think it would be too crazy because I think TP is just mandatory.
I think on like melee bruisers where their issue is being kited, because you got to think this is also going to be snowball. If they're just taking it straight from ARAM, you essentially have a skill shot flash on a like 50-second cooldown. Like imagine trying to play Quinn where Garen just gets to throw a snowball at you, and if it clicks, you're actually just losing your whole health bar.
Yeah, Darius could use it. It'd just be just the champs that want to get on top of you and stat check you are gonna love it. But
picture this: you're an ADC.
Oh no.
and a snowball comes out of a bush, and then the enemy team's bot lane just flashes past your support, and now you've got a jungler, an ADC, and a support on top of you. God, that would be awful.
I swear I
Yeah.
saw that video somewhere else.
I
He's
remember
like,
that
I've heard this
Pornhub
story
video.
before.
Man, these are a lot of summoner spell questions.
Yes, that's what they had today.
I remember that Pornhub video of
Yeah,
everybody diving the
Not the
ADC.
hub.
It'd be interesting, honestly, because I definitely think it would get picked. I think it would probably get overpicked.
Mhm.
And yeah, I don't know. I could see it going very poorly in
would
a lot of
be-
cases. you
Yeah,
know?
and like I'm trying to think of like in what cases you'd have to like for like some champs like it would most likely be picked on the champs that
Like-
could forego TP and like support, because like if you look at jungle, they have to have smite. So like, are you really gonna not take flash in order I mean, I guess if you really want that all in, but like I don't know. If
Okay,
it's
so
like,
we've basically confirmed that people will use it, but what champion specifically would
Zed,
take it?
Yone,
Right.
Yasuo.
yeah,
I think a sleeper
Talon.
champ that could take it top lane would be Gnar.
Gnar.
Yeah, it could be really
Just
good.
being
on
able to
Gnar.
snowball engage with Gnar ult
Yeah.
would actually be disgusting.
Uh-huh.
Darius, Garen, Nasus.
I could definitely see assassins too. Especially assassin that could get good lane priority. Imagine, God, I don't even want to think about this, but imagine a Nefuri with snowball. Like after she chunks you out of lane and you're trying to back behind your tower and you just get tagged with a snowball. She's already got Eclipse, so she's not worried about the tower damage.
I mean, Talon.
Talon too, yeah.
Yeah.
Akali,
Yeah. Oh, Kali would be nasty.
because that's God. Snowball to E, and then you still have your R available because you didn't have to use the RE combo.
Mm-hmm.
Ah.
I could see like a Mumu. At least like jungle wise, like if he forgoes the flash, he just uses snowball instead.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there we have it, and there you go, Beards. That's the answers to the question. That is all that we have for this evening. So, has anybody got any last minute words or anything they'd like to say to our viewers before we say thank you and peace out?
I appreciate everyone that comes and watches. Obviously, kind of stepped into this pretty halfway through the split, but I've had a great time with it. I enjoy hanging out and talking with all you guys. Hopefully, you guys tune in for next week.
Yeah, everyone tune in for our next episode, and please keep watch of the games. This is the exciting part of the season. Yeah.
Yeah, we may have some cancellation letters next week.
Yeah, you might get one from me. But if it does happen, it'd be pretty cool. I'll happily write a cancellation letter to see which is a thing.
I love it.
Okay, well, then that is it, everybody. We appreciate all of you viewers watching us and tuning in and listening and having a good time. And thank you to our podcasters. Let's clarify that because we thank the casters every other days. Cherrie says peace out and everybody gets her regards. So later, Cherrie. Thank you to Cherrie, Storm, Taco, Riven, Wooly, Genetics, everybody who was here with us today, and
Welcome
catch you next
to
time.
LXC.
But thanks to our casters too. We love
Yeah,
them.
thanks to our casters.
Thanks
We
to the
do love them.
casters.